Good evening, everyone. I think we could get started. I promised everyone we'd be out of here by 6 drinking cocktails outside. So we factored in at least another half hour for promptness. So we did very well. So we're 5 minutes ahead of schedule. I'd like to welcome you here to a very important time in the history of this foundation. 40 years ago, this got started almost as one of these lab errors because it happened when you didn't expect it, and it turned out that it was real, and it was significant, and that's how this foundation got started. And we'll talk a little bit about that later as we go through briefly a quick review of 40 years. But what I'd like to do first, as I do every year, is to report the year, more or less, as the founder and presently the CEO, and I tell all the stakeholders in the company what we've been doing in the past year, some of the metrics of what's been happening, some of our interests, and then go through the rest of the program. So, those of you who maybe not be aware of it, the foundation has been funding research in many different locations throughout this country, China for a long time, Israel. And we have an overall mission, and the mission is to identify abnormal gene function associated with cancer, try to figure out what it does, what it means, and then try to use the information to make that bad gene function properly function and become a good therapy. And so you can do this in all forms of cancer. And the important thing is that's what we do. So when people ask, are we interested in breast cancer, brain cancer? We're interested in every cancer. I personally, as a physician, treated every type of cancer in my career. And instead of specializing, I wanted to know about all cancers. And so this foundation wants to know about all cancers because indeed they all have something, we have something to learn from one form of cancer to another form of cancer. So the foundation has been set up that way. So we have groups that work in different forms of cancer and spread out under the name of brain cancer or blood cancers, and they collaborate with one another. So collaboration is a very important part of the foundation, of bringing people of different disciplines work together to take that abnormal gene information, try to understand it, put it into preclinical models, and I will show you that we are involved in clinical trials that have come about with this type of process. So our investment in cancer goes back to 40 years ago, and we've invested close to $100 million by now. But over the last 10 years, about $25 million that have gone right into the laboratory. And you can see that a good portion of it has been in blood malignancies. And there's good reason for that, because we can learn something in blood malignancies more rapidly about how a gene might not work. And you're going to hear a little bit about that from our workman awardee, Dr. Tim Lay. And so, but also we've invested a lot in breast cancer and colorectal, lung, liver cancer, brain, etc. So we have a diverse use of the funds that you help provide for research. We also have valued partnerships, foundations, trusts that share our interest and have been significant supporters of the foundation. We also partner with foundations. We've partnered with the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation as a specific form of breast cancer that is a high-risk problem for women. And we do matched funding with foundations in order to increase the amount of money we can raise. And we value those type of relationships, whether it's a trust or a foundation, and always looking to find people that want to do this with us as we go forward. Over the year, our visibility has grown a great deal. And this has a lot to do with the events that we are having in increasing number. Also, the terrific work of Edward Trinidad, who's our marketing and public relations person, and you can see that we have had significant media exposure with each event, such as the gala, the Hampton happenings. We have an event on breast cancer month, and even a day of blowing your hair with Angela Davis, so on. But they all add up to exposure. So if we add this up, the name of the foundation and what we do has become more well known in the past year. And of course, we're having more impact in social media, and that's grown significantly over the past year. So this is a curve that's going up, and our goal is to increase the visibility of the foundation, to get people aware of what we do and help us get there. I'd just like to report to you briefly some of the research-based clinical trials that are now in progress, and this is just a few of them. We heard in our scientific review, that's been on for the last 3 days, from Northwestern, that there's a drug that's being used to treat a form of leukemia and a very difficult disease, primary myelofibrosis. And this is all based on very, very good science. And we heard the science for the last few years. The foundation has been supporting that science. And indeed, we've now seen patients being treated with this kind of drug. But looks like it's going to be a successful drug. We've had a wonderful program here in liver cancer. And this program is international. Dr. Lovett is right here, and I think he would say the foundation really got him started in this program. And from our investment, which started at about $150,000 a year, he reported yesterday that his budget was almost $6 million a year. So that is really good growth. But more than that, he has created an extraordinary team around the world collecting patients and material and gene abnormalities, and a few years ago tested a drug for the first time that helped people with liver cancer. It's now an approved drug, and it's used pretty much all over the world, and being very, very intense on improving that very difficult disease to treat. We have an interesting program going on at Johns Hopkins. Immune therapy is really an important new find in the treatment of cancer. It's just at its beginning, and it's certainly, as they've said, it's the beginning of the end. But we don't know what the end is. We know it's going to have a lot of help, and we have a program that started using epigenetic therapy, which has been a very important part of our work, with immune therapy. And science is really, we heard a lot about that today, and the clinical trials are ongoing, and we're quite excited about that. At Tel Aviv University, this mutation in the JAK inhibitor using a particular drug combined with chemotherapy is being used for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And here at Mount Sinai, we have a trial with Doris Germain and the breast cancer group using 2 drugs together that's not commonly used in breast cancer together, but it looks like it's going to be an effective treatment for women who have estrogen receptor breast cancer that's now in refractory to the usual anti-estrogen drugs. So this is evidence of taking science to the clinic, and hopefully we can get to the point where that's how everything is developed, and we go forward and have impact in outcome and mortality. So over the last year, we have been deeply interested in the clinical problem of dealing with cancer in the aging population. And it's particularly important because, as we all know, the aging population is the most increasing population throughout the world. And as we age, it is just a fact that as we age, there is an increase in the incidence of cancer. So you can start to measure that at age 60 and follow the arrow up to 85, and the incidence continues to grow. The number of people with cancer-related mortality grows. And for this to happen, we all believe it, the plant, you don't see it, we believe this is the iceberg, but for years and years this is working in our system. And so our goal is to develop a treatment approach and a research approach to dealing with this problem. It's a clinically unmet need. People, as they get older, they get cancer. The treatment is more difficult to deliver as we get older. We need new treatments. We have to understand the science. So you're going to hear a little bit about that with our next speaker, and because we had a workshop on that. And I'm going to introduce to you Jonathan Lick. And Jonathan is the Chief Science Officer of the Foundation, good friend and colleague for many years, and he's now head of the cancer program at the University of Florida in Gainesville. Come on, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you to supporters of the Foundation, colleagues, members of the Scientific Advisory Board. I'm delighted to report to you about a very lively 3-day symposium we've had here at Mount Sinai. Start off with my colleague, Dr. Rosemary, the Chief Mission Officer, who had to return to Boston a little earlier today. I also send his regards to all of you. But he and I were challenged by Sam to come up with a think tank, a workshop about aging and cancer. We decided to narrow it a little bit because as you've heard, we've been so interested in the blood cancers and how much we've learned about cancer in general from blood cancers. And we invited a dozen of the country's foremost scientists in the field of the development of the blood system, both normal and malignant blood development, and also a leading leader in aging, Dr. Brian Kennedy, who's the director of the Buck Institute of Aging in Marin County, California. So he gave us our leadoff speaker talking about the general problem of aging. Can it be moderated? How do we successfully age our bodies? And then we had a series of talks, short talks, very interactive around the room, about a dozen of us taking notes all the time, trying to think about what are the problems that happen as the blood system ages, and some of the findings that we know that happens, that there are abnormalities of the blood system that occur with age that could have profound implications both for the health of the blood system as well as we learned the cardiovascular system. So the whole idea that the blood may interact with other organs of the body in a way that we didn't appreciate before. After this, we had a working whiteboard that we scribbled on. We had a number of suggestions we came up together. We had a readback of those suggestions. Everyone had to put down their 3 big questions to answer. And we're collating those. We're still digesting them, but in the next week or so, I'm going to put those together and try to craft them into a request for applications to move forward with this initiative and have a limited we're going to send out requests for applications to a selected group of people and try to get some really thoughtful applications here to attack this problem, to understand the fundamental science, understand how we can translate this into perhaps prevention of blood and other types of cancers as aging occurs. So it's really, I had all these scientists came by and said this was one of the most exciting, thoughtful workshops they've ever attended. So I'm not just saying that to puff ourselves up, but there really is so much enthusiasm in the room. And this is something that the Foundation and your support gives us the latitude to do, to take a flyer. Because of your support over these years and because we've had so many very important scientists working with us, we have the credibility to reach out to people and say, would you come for a day? Would you come and discuss with us and plan for the future? So thank you for your support with that, and we're moving forward with this. Now, subsequent to that, on Sunday, All Day Sunday, and this morning, we had our report of our grantees. The Foundation, since 2001, I was honored to be asked by Dr. Waxman in 2001 to start an extramural program. The Waxman Foundation had largely funded predominantly research at Mount Sinai with a few other collaborators, but then we were asked to challenge to build this institute without walls, and several dozen, probably 50, 60 different investigators have been funded over the past 10 years or so, working together with international collaborations, cross-city collaborations, cross-country collaborations, and we heard a robust report of those findings. And I'd say that were just simply some jaw-dropping talks, including one jaw-dropping talk, I won't make him blush, but from our own founder, Dr. Waxman, who's one of the most astounding, important translational talks I've heard in many years. So I was really quite impressed by that. And we together, we heard all this great science. We had some special guest lecturers coming as well. We had some thought-provoking talks. And then our scientific advisory board, who's here, Dr. Maureen Gudis, Dr. Valier is here, Dr. Rob Romas is in the back, Dr. Ramon Parsons is here, and Dr. Steve Gore, I believe, and Dr. Roseman. We collated together and just thought about the talks and thought about how we could offer some helpful suggestions for the research directions in the years to come. So I think everyone I know who comes to this meeting looks forward to it every year, every May, to come to New York and have this collation of outstanding science, good camaraderie. We have a nice meal at La Masseria, and we have a lot of good time. You've got to realize science is an intensely social activity. You have to communicate your ideas amongst colleagues. We have to communicate our ideas to you and tell you why it's so important to continue this. And what was very gratifying to see is how this foundation support has led to real clinical progress. One thing to note is Dr. Levette's program here at Mount Sinai in Barcelona, which is leading the world in attacking and finding a real drug for liver cancer and finding new promise in that area. And some other studies we've been doing in terms of the clinical trials you've heard, as well as some work at Johns Hopkins in terms of modulating tumor immunity, which we know is much more important than we ever thought. So I'd like to say is the State of the Union is strong. This foundation is moving forward with new ideas and innovation. We have a strong cadre of investigators funded by the institution with your help and your support, and for that I thank you very much.
So we'll continue on, but I would like to say that if there's ever a burning question that you might want to ask, this is meant to be this part a town hall meeting. Just raise your hand and we'll try to answer it. We've got some very heavyweight hitters in this room that could be available to do it. And if not now, we're going to have a reception afterwards, and please make yourself available to any number of extremely talented people here to discuss some thoughts. Okay, so we'll continue on, and we mentioned our scientific advisory board, and we're fortunate to have 6 extraordinary scientists who help us make decisions on individual grant applications, and also they also get involved in strategy. So today I presented them with a strategy for the future of funding a relationship of cancer and aging, and presented them with a draft of something I'm trying to get done at the national level. And we discussed this a great deal. So we're picking advisors that have leadership roles, that are really good scientists, and shown an enormous dedication to in their own career. And I think you mentioned everyone, John. Dr. Gudis, Dr. Boyer, Dr. Parsons, Dr. Romas, and I think, and Dr. Romas is in the back, and 2 others had to leave. So we have here to say a few words on their behalf of how they saw the science in the last couple of days and what they've learned about the culture of the foundation, how we think and what we want to do. Is Ramon Parsons. Ramon is the chair of oncologic sciences here at Mount Sinai, and really an internationally known scientist and a pretty darn good guy. So, thanks.
It was a pleasure to review the really outstanding science that is assembled at the foundation, where we actually had a chance to actually take a look at the data and see how, kick the tires, see how it stands up, and see how the different scientists are performing. And also hear what they have to say. They also present a seminar. So they present a written proposal, and then they present a seminar on how they're doing, how their work is progressing. And I don't want to take too much time, because Sam and Jonathan have already gone over some of the different topics. But they're really important, cutting-edge areas where we're making progress, where more needs to be done, and they're very exciting areas of science right now. And thank you.
Okay, so we're going to continue on now, taking a kind of a journey of people who have real firsthand experience with the foundation. First, we're going to have people who've been associated with the foundation as scientists, friends, know how we operate, and have a sense of a mission. And the first one I want to introduce is Ethan Demovsky. Now, Ethan is now provost and executive vice president of MD Anderson Medical Center. And Ethan had been a grantee for many years. He shares my passion for differentiation therapy. And he was also on our scientific advisory board for a number of years. So he was here today, gave yesterday a wonderful report on his work. And I've asked Ethan and a few others to share with you what this foundation means to them.
Good afternoon. As you can hear, I have a cold, but I want you to know that I won't be silenced because I wanted to be here today to celebrate the first 40 years of the foundation. This is a remarkable foundation. Sam Waxman, our dear friend, is a remarkable person who I admire deeply. You know, cancer is a problem for all of humanity. It doesn't care whether you're young or old, whether you're wealthy or not, whether you hail from this country or come from abroad. It strikes young people, older people, and it doesn't care if you're a healthcare provider or someone who's devoted your life to combating this terrible scourge of cancer. This very morning, I got a message from one of our dear colleagues at MD Anderson who was diagnosed with an incurable brain tumor, much like what Joe Biden's son passed away from. So you're not immune from this terrible, terrible problem for all of humanity, even if you devoted your life to combat this problem. I'm so incredibly fortunate to be associated with this remarkable foundation. It's remarkable because of Sam's vision. My own patients have benefited from your support. I have conducted, with the aid of the foundation, 5 clinical trials that have led the way towards identifying the very cell cycle proteins that control why abnormal cancer cells divide and how we can restore a more regular division of cells. And we hope that this will go a long way to improve the life of cancer sufferers, a very particular type of cancer, lung cancer, which is sadly the most common cause of cancer death for both men and women. It's a little well-known or appreciated fact that this is a crisis for women's health, because more women pass away from lung cancer than from any other cancer, including breast cancer. So I'm here today to say thank you, to say that your investment is bearing fruit, that your continued support matters, not only to the foundation, but to cancer sufferers around the world. And let me end by telling you that those who devoted their lives to combating cancer, my colleagues here, Honoree Tingley, who I admire deeply, who's such a worthy recipient of the work award today, that they've devoted their lives to try to combat this problem. And this is a problem that requires a very different set of solutions. Discoveries are going to be made in a very different area of scholarship. It'll be between disciplines where the distinction between fields are blurred. And the Sam Waxman Cancer Research Foundation has led the way in breaking down barriers that allow us to bring from different disciplines the solutions to this terrible problem. So not only do I want to say thank you to each and every one of you I'd like to say thank you to Sam Waxman for the privilege of being part of this fellowship, which is the most remarkable fellowship that I've had the honor to be part of. Thank you for support.
Thank you very much, Ethan. I think I can just announce what you told me today, that you're getting recognized as an honoree from the American Society of Clinical Oncology, American Association for Clinical Research, for translational research in cancer. That means taking the idea and getting it to the patient. So congratulations. At the same time, I'm going to acknowledge Bob Weinberg, who's sitting right next to him, who at the most recent meeting at the American Association for Cancer Research received a Lifetime Achievement Award. So we continue on. It's my pleasure to introduce Shai Israeli. And Shai is at Sheba, which is part of Tel Aviv University. And Shai is a remarkable scientist that I met over 20 years ago when he was at the National Cancer Institute, where he was a rising star, but he felt his home was Israel, and indeed he did return. And we have kept real close over the years, and he has really been a recipient of support from the foundation and has been an extraordinary collaborator with people we fund in this country and in China. So, Shai, please come up and say a few words.
So thank you very much, Sam. I'm really honored, and so not too many people talked about you. So I want to say a few words because I really admire you. And I don't use the word admire so lightly. You have to be careful in admiring people. But there are many excellent physicians. And many excellent physicians have grateful patients. And these patients quite often try to help these physicians, and they give philanthropy. And what is usually done, the physician who gets the philanthropy supports his own research, important as it is. Same is different. So what Dr. Waxman decided to do is to use this philanthropy not for his own sake, but actually to create this fantastic institution, Institute Without Borders, to help patients with cancer everywhere, and to bring together scientists and physicians so they can collaborate and promote the cure of cancer better than he could have done himself, although he himself has incredible contributions. I mean, the most important one is the cure of one of the deadly leukemias that he has done together with the people from Shanghai that are here, and really revolutionize the therapy of blood cancer. So thank you very much, Sam. And now just a few words on what we do. So I represent the other side. So we talked about aging in cancer, and I represent the childhood side. So one of every 400 children will develop cancer. That's actually quite a lot. And we are fortunate about childhood cancer because now we can cure most of childhood cancer. Actually, about 7 or 8 out of every 10 children with cancer is cured today, which is remarkable. But the challenges are huge. First, we want to cure all children. You can't tell a mother that comes with blood cancer, oh, that's great, we have 90% chance for cure. We want 100% chance for cure. And then the second challenge, that a child that is cured from cancer, our goal is another 80, 90 years of normal lives and normal achievements. So we must find therapies that won't be so toxic as the chemotherapy that we're giving right now. So children pay a very big price for this cure. So that's what our research is about. And one thing that I will cite that was supported by the foundation, was mentioned in one of the first slides, is our specialty is in leukemia, blood cancer. And a couple of years ago, we discovered and continued this research with the support of foundation, a very cunning mechanism of cancer cells in which they hijacked, they activate genes, and they hijacked actually a mechanism that is normally or pathologically involved in more benign diseases, like arthritis, asthma, atopic dermatitis, allergy. And they use this mechanism to grow the leukemic cells. Now, what was fortunate about this discovery is that pharmaceutical companies, while rarely developing anything against childhood cancer because it's too rare, you can't make money from childhood cancer, are developing drugs against allergies, arthritis, because these are common problems. So I feel it's really satisfying to know that just last month, the Children Oncology Group started in many hospitals around this country a trial with one of these drugs. It was mentioned here, a JAK inhibitor together with chemotherapy to these high-risk leukemias. And it's important also to note that studies of childhood cancer are not limited to childhood cancer. Same as the principal foundation that does not separate between different types of cancers. Because the same type of leukemias, bad leukemias, are actually even more common in adults. So the same trial started a few months ago in MD Anderson, where Dr. Demovsky is coming from. So that's really is the satisfying goal of every researcher. And for me, the membership in this foundation and the help that I get from many collaborators is enormous. So thank you, Sam. And I wish that for us to all meet here 40 years from now. Thank you.
So we're going to get a video from Professor Su Chen. Back 25 years ago or so, we were working on acute promyelocytic leukemia, which is the disease that Shai was just talking about. And we were making enormous progress with Professor Zhenji Wang. And I met for the first time Saijuan Shen, who's there, Sue's wife, and who's now the director of the Shanghai Institute of Hematology and many other leadership roles in China. And they were in my lab for a short period of time, and we discovered a new gene. It was published. It was recognized as an important new gene because it did different things. I think it made a big difference in your career and in Zhu's career. John Licht got involved with us, and it took him from the fruit fly to human. It made a big difference in his career. And someone by the name of Arthur Zelnick also got involved. So we had a team of 4 that worked together for a long time. All of this was spawned by this foundation. And I would advise you to look around at some of these pictures because a lot of this money came at the beginning. Mary Cantor, who's here, helped us negotiate everything we wanted to do in China starting in 1982. So it's a great story, a great history that one day I'm going to sit down, and I don't know if my son Scott's here, but I'm going to write the book. So, at any rate, Zhu did send us a video, and I will do my best to get this started. Here we go. Now, Zhu went on from running the Shanghai Institute of Hematology, and then he became Minister of Health of China for 4 years, and now he goes to the lab almost every other weekend when he comes from Beijing or so. I think he's on the phone 3 o'clock in the morning with Saijuan and his students, and he's now Vice Chairman of the National People's Congress of China. which is an important role, particularly since he represents what's the best in medicine and science in China. And I think it's an extraordinary choice of leadership for that country. So Zhu has sent this video.
Dear Dr. Samuel Waxman, colleagues and friends at Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, please accept my warmest congratulations on the 40th anniversary of Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation. It is a pity that I cannot join you in person in this great event, but my heart is with you all to share your pleasure. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation for your long-standing support to cancer research in China, especially to the research at Shanghai Institute of Hematology. It is our shared joy to be the drivers of this collaboration over the past 2.5 decades, which has dramatically changed the clinical outcome of a malignant disease and saved the lives of tens of thousands of patients. My special thanks go to Dr. Samuel Waxman, an old friend of our institute, of myself personally, and of China. Your selfless support and warm friendship will be cherished by your Chinese colleagues forever. In Shanghai Institute of Hematology, we are at the front line against leukemia, one of the most common causes of cancer death. Among many distinct types of leukemia, our joint research with Dr. Waxman has been focused on the acute promyelocytic leukemia, APL, which was once considered as the most malignant form of acute leukemia. For a long time, chemotherapy and radiotherapy were main weapons against the cancer, including leukemia, aiming mostly at killing the bad cells. However, they also kill good cells. Would there be any precision therapy that could specifically affect on APL cells? We have undertaken to explore the new approaches since the early 1980s in the framework of collaboration between Shanghai Second Medical University, present Shanghai Jiaotong University School of Medicine, and Mount Sinai Medical Center by Dr. Zhengyi Wang and Dr. Waxman. In 1988, the milestone paper reporting the first clinical success of differentiation therapy of APL by using all-trans-retinoic acid was published in Blood with tremendous help from Dr. Waxman. Though APL has been basically conquered, cancer in general is still a major threat to people's health. In an aging society, the challenges are more serious as aging is the single biggest risk factor for developing cancer. In terms of risk, we are happy to know that Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation has already launched its Aging and Cancer Initiative with an aim to develop new cancer research approaches specifically targeting senior population. Finally, I sincerely wish Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation to have a more prosperous future and to achieve new victories in the war against the cancer. I also hope that people friendship between China and US is further developing with each passing day. Thank you.
Thanks you when you go home, okay? Jet lag is a terrible thing when you go back and forth to China, so. Okay. So we have our next speaker, also, I guess he was moved? next presenter is Dr. Douglas Lowy. Now, Doug Lowy is in Bethesda, and there's a meeting of all National Cancer Center directors ongoing as we speak. Doug is unable to be here. He's a good friend of the foundation. We've known Doug for years. Doug is the acting director of the NCI. He will tell you he received a David Workman Award some years ago for his work on the discovery of the HPV vaccine. He was on our scientific advisory board for a number of years, and I'm particularly thrilled that he is in a leadership role at the NCI because he's a very, very special person, brilliant, and a great humanitarian. So we have a brief video from Doug on this occasion.
I would like to congratulate Sam and the Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation on its 40th anniversary. The foundation has supported the careers of many outstanding investigators and made important contributions to advances in cancer research, especially in the areas of leukemia and lymphoma. For me personally, I was fortunate to be the recipient in 2006 of the David Workman Memorial Award, which I received along with my colleague John Saylor for our research on the HPV vaccine. This was the first such award that John and I received for our research. The foundation has continually emphasized the importance not just of developing effective treatment, but also treatment that is less toxic. And the rest of the cancer research field has finally caught up with them through the current emphasis on targeted treatment and immunotherapy. Thank you for all that you have achieved up to now and for what I know will be many future successes.
Okay, so it's only appropriate as we move along, you've heard the importance of the David Workman Memorial Award. And this is an award for a very special man. David was a patient of mine many years ago. And he came to me in a terrible clinical state with something known as a germ cell tumor. And we were just beginning to realize that this is, to you, it's the Lance Armstrong tumor. Okay? At any rate, we didn't know much about a drug called platinum at that time. That's how long ago this was. And I think David was the first person, or amongst the first person, to receive a platinum drug at Mount Sinai. I happened to have gotten the drug for him. And he came back from death, really, to cure. Everything you've heard about Lance Armstrong was even more dramatic than David Workman. And he was out playing golf and having fun and working, and loved his art, loved his friends, loved his family. Very special guy. Now, 20 years later, after he had done a lot of good things, he was very active in the foundation. He was one of our founding board members and president, and just a wonderful person. He got a second cancer. And you heard this just now about toxicity from one form of cancer all too often leads to another cancer. So 20 years later, David got a cancer that we don't know how to treat. He got pancreatic cancer, and he only lived 6 months. And so this award is designed to honor people who've made contributions to a incurable or poorly treatable form of cancer to make it more treatable. So you can see why Doug Lowy got that. He and John were important in bringing a vaccine that prevents cervical cancer and other forms of cancer. That's an extraordinary gift to humanity. So we have Dr. Tim Ray, and I think is about the 7th recipient of this award, and I've asked John to introduce Tim.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. I'm delighted and honored to introduce today's winner of the David T. Workman Award, Dr. Timothy Lay. Dr. Lay is a native of Iowa, went to college at Drake University in Des Moines, went to medical school at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, and subsequently went to the Massachusetts General Hospital, where he was an intern and resident, and subsequently to the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, where he did pioneering studies. Some of the very earliest studies of differentiation therapy came from Dr. Lay's work. It wasn't in cancer, but it was in thalassemia and other disorders of hemoglobin, of blood. He was one of the first people to ever show in a clinical study that you could turn on a previously silenced gene to try to correct in a targeted way a disorder of blood. These types of studies have led the way for the type of therapy that we use today. And the drug that he used, azacitidine, is now a clinically approved drug through studies largely done here at Mount Sinai for the treatment of certain blood malignancies. Dr. Lay continued to do very fundamental work on how genes work in white blood cells, how genes are turned on and turned off, and how white blood cells fight infection and are involved in tumor immunity. And he went from the National Institutes of Health back to Washington University in St. Louis, where he's now been on the faculty for 30 years, now is a distinguished professor of medicine at Washington University in St. Louis and director of the section of stem cell biology. Dr. Lay has also impacted, his work has coincided with that of the foundation, that he created one of the very first animal models of acute hemolytic leukemia that helps us refine and understand better how this therapy worked. And he's been very, very influential in this part of our field as well. Dr. Lay, his work, he'll be honored here for today, is started out as a very novel idea, audacious idea. At the end of the Human Genome Sequencing Project, which cost $1 billion to sequence one human genome, the entire book of our genome, he asked the audacious question, can we do this for patients? Can we sequence a tumor's genome? Can we understand that genome? And can we develop targeted therapies out of that? And this was an audacious issue. I actually happened to be on the panel that reviewed this grant. And it was really a very controversial topic, whether this should even be done. Should this be funded by the NIH? Well, it eventually was decided to be done. He sequenced the first human tumor genome at a cost of not $1 billion, but $1.6 million. So already the cost of that project went down by a factor of 1,000. Now you've heard about Moore's law and how computing power goes up. We have this ability to unlock the genome is going down in cost and increase in power at rates that far exceed that. Dr. Lay and I just discussed this now. Now it costs about $10,000 to sequence a human genome. It's down another 1,000-fold in a mere 5 years. Dr. Lay sequenced the first human tumor genome and published these results about 6 years ago, the first one being in acute leukemia, a very bland form of acute leukemia, one that didn't have the APL, but he found many, many things about this, including the fact that we all carry certain passenger mutations in genes that probably do us no harm, but they follow us around. But he was able to find certain so-called driver mutations that seem to cause the leukemia. And from this has led to a number of discoveries that are leading to new targeted therapies for acute leukemia, some of which are in breakthrough status in clinical trials, directly resulting from his work. Dr. Lay is, we're glad to add to his many honors. Dr. Lay is a distinguished member of the National Academy of Medicine of the United States. He's a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, a fellow of the American Association for Advancement of Sciences, a member of the American Association of Physicians and the American Society of Clinical Investigations. He's a distinguished teacher and mentor, having won mentorship awards at Washington University, St. Louis, as well as the American Society of Hematology. He's won the E. Donald Tommel Prize from the American Society of Hematology, Distinguished Scientist Award from the American Association of Cancer Institutes, the Alfred Knudsen Prize for Cancer Genetics at the National Cancer Institute, and Distinguished Faculty Award at Washington University, St. Louis. It's my extreme pleasure and honor to award the 2016 David T. Workman Award to Dr. Timothy Lay. Dr. Lay.
What a nice introduction. Thank you so much. We've known each other for many, many years and have had a lot of wonderful interactions, and you've had a great influence on my work. Honored and thrilled to be here. So happy to receive this out of the blue a few months ago. Great privilege, that's for sure. I had a few remarks. Just being here, I'm just going to tear them up. Because, I'm far more impressed with what's going on here than you should be with what I've done. Sam, you've really done something special here. It's overwhelming to see the level of support you've given to science and what you've done, and all your colleagues too. I congratulate you for the tremendous work that you've done. John's probably overstated a little bit the significance of our work, in my opinion. We've used this new transformative technology, next generation sequencing, to understand all the mutations that are associated with this disease and now many other cancers. So we know the mutations, and an unexpected side benefit of understanding the clonal heterogeneity of many kinds of cancer. So we've kind of put a name and a face and a map to the war on cancer, in a sense. But it hasn't necessarily revealed the vulnerabilities of our enemies. And so there's a big difference between getting information about mutations in a cancer patient and having that translated to knowledge to the disease, and then finally translating that to wisdom, the wisdom of how to use that information to best treat our patients. So that's the tough work that's still to come. I'm amused by the notion of the moonshot for cancer now, because it kind of implies that by taking big money and doing big science that we can solve this incredibly complicated problem, which to me just is a little bit far-fetched. It seems to me in retrospect that we went to the moon 50 years ago, so we had the technology to do that a long time ago, so it's so 50 years ago. It seems like the Waxman Foundation, they're pioneers in what maybe we should call the Earth shot. So the Earth is a lot more complicated than the moon, and it's also where all the cancer patients live. It's a daunting and complex problem that we face, and we have much, much work to be done. But I want to thank the Foundation for the great honor of honoring our work, the work of all my colleagues, and I accept this award on their behalf. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to celebrate 40 years real quickly. We're going to get done in a short time. Celebrating our supporters is the next part of this. You know, believe it, we can't do this without you. It's just a fact. We get grants, but when you want to make everybody is struggling with funding, everybody. We've got great people in this room who've been at it for 30 years, 40 years, they're world known, and they're scratching their head how to fund their lab. A lot of good science just doesn't get done. Treatments are delayed. So we're a small foundation, but we make great impact, truly, you've heard that. And so there are people that have contributed in many ways to this, in this room, and some of them are not here, and some of them won't even be mentioned today because we couldn't do all of it. Really, we've had support for 40 years by literally thousands of donors, but some do stand out for one thing or another. It's not always how much money they give, it's loyalty, it's encouragement, because it's daunting to continue to raise money, so you need encouragement. We have a board that is quite extraordinary with leadership, and so that goes back for a long time. So we decided on this 40th anniversary we would name some people, but it doesn't mean we're excluding any people. So just trust me, you all mean the same to me. Whether you do it or you don't, I know you're there for the same reason. You want to beat cancer just as much as I do. So we're going to go through this, and I'm going to put some lists up, and I'll tell you what it means. But I ask you not to applaud until we're all done with this, then we'll applaud each other. We'll get done. Visionary awards. What's a visionary award? Well, you know, we try to identify some people who have been visionary in the sense that they really understand what we're trying to do. They've given of themselves. They just personally, and not always a lot of money, but a lot of help, a lot of encouragement. And it's not a real selection of popularity at all. It's just people that came to, a few of us, to put around. And some of it has to do with the history of the foundation, which you'll hear. So on this list, we've named some people who are busy, prominent, but deeply feel for the foundation or felt for the foundation. People go on to other things, we understand that, but when they were with us, they were there at very, very important times in the history of the foundation. So you can see that Dale and Peter Klayman, who are still active with the foundation. Gary Jacob is my always go-to guy. The Cantor family, Mary and Robert, you'll hear from her son, Adrian Cantor. They've been just 40 years of involved with this foundation. Mildred and Abney Levine, who passed on in the last year or two, have been with us in spirit and encouragement that's been extraordinary. Reuben Mark, who is a huge benefactor, and I speak with a few times a year, always kind of challenges me to think forward, and I appreciate his help. He's not here, but JJ has been a visionary because he recognized the importance of cancer research 45 years ago, got involved with the foundation, and still is, and it's very, very appreciated. Ellen and Michael Nierenberg are like, got our foundation into space. They really took us from a small foundation to a much larger foundation, and Michael's the chairman of our board, and Ellen is his soulmate, and the two of them together really make a difference. Joan and Alan Sacker were with us at a very critical time as chairman and as president, and had a very important place in the history of the foundation. Alfred Seaman, his son, is here. Alfred was an amazing person who I'll never forget. Did I miss something, Mary? What did I miss? I'll get there. They're not there, she's going to speak. Okay. So Alfred Seaman was our first chairman, and he had said to me when I was really at the beginning in one of these pictures that I'm on for the duration, and indeed he was on for the duration. I would have not forgot that. I will go back to Susie now. I was saving it for later. Yeah, Susan Rose was someone I met, again, about 40 years ago, at the very beginning of this foundation. She was highly, highly taken by the sadness of cancer in the family. And she just simply said, what can I do? And I said, well, help us get going. And she actually came to the office as a volunteer. She handwritten letters. She became a president, got all her friends involved, and really helped the foundation get into another stage of development. And I know she continues to have a very, very deep feeling about those days, and of course our foundation as we go forward. Okay, so let's go on. Tony Sjogren is not here. Is another person who was there at the get-go. Tony has just continued to be a friend of the foundation, and again, 40 years just about, where he continues to think about the foundation and help in any way possible. And the Taub family, represented by Mark Taub, and Mike Federuli's here for their company, Palm Bay, have just been wonderful to the foundation for all these years, for many years, and I know they continue to support us in every way possible, emotionally, etc., financially, we're most appreciative. So now we get home. I'm a very fortunate guy. I've got two wonderful sons, and they have wonderful wives. So Spencer and Bettina are here, and they have been really working hard for the foundation. Spencer is the president of the foundation. He's been on the board for a long time, and he's understands what we do, and he's really been important to ongoing the foundation. Scott is also here. Scott has really been inspiring to me in so many ways, and he continues to be more and more aware of what we do, and I'm convinced is going to be another leader in this foundation. The other visionary is my wife. She married me. If you look at the pictures here, in that very first one, in '76 and before, she's right next to me. And she keeps, she really is, I have to say, is really the founder of this foundation. It was her doing, and it's still a lot of ways, she's right there, and we owe her a lot. Because I think she shares the same thing. We've both lost parents to cancer, and she feels very strongly that we can make it better. So she's totally dedicated to this. And Dina is not here. She actually had some surgery. She was going to be here. Dina Wiener is what I call our science advocate. She comes to all our science review, and she and David have been extremely generous, but they work for the foundation. They care about the foundation, and Dina really knows what's going on. So these are the people that we call visionary. And I'm sure there are a lot of people in this room, and I hope that we'll be able to extend this list as we go along. So let's get on to the benefactors. What is a benefactor? A benefactor is someone who really has given up himself over a period of time, helped us raise money, and given up their own financial resources, and they care about the foundation. You can call upon them to do that and participate. Many of them are board members or ex-board members, and the list is long. The list is long, and it's probably leaving some names out, and it's not intentional, but we've tried to include a bunch of folks. Some of them are here, and some of them could not make it, but they're all going to receive the same kind of award. So I just think we'll look at them, the names: Larry Altman, Jack Brewer, Peter Sharasia, Tom Conway, Jim DeMar, Wesley Edens, Scott Eichel, Bob Eichler, Johan Evelyn, Ken Fischel, Arminio Fraga, Jamie Franco, the Janiers family, Gary Gladstein, Cliff Kinder, and Dennis Herman, David Pinkelman, Howard Kurz, E. Antonio Lama, Juanito Lama, Matt Lyons, Tom Milano, Barbara and Fred Marcus, Jeff Mayer, Lisa Mayer, Martin Olignia, Randy Mardone, Ray Bobolander, Tom Bay, Randy Reef is here, I saw him, Reva Bill Slivka, Howie Rubin, Lori Chapman, the Sheriff family is here, represent Eddie, Howie Softnitz, Adam Siegel, Baron Silverstein, Adam Slow, the Soros Fund Charitable Foundation, Mary Whitman, Warren Spector, Joe Steffa, the wonderful Freestone family, Freestone Sisters family, a major grassroots foundation that supported our breast cancer program for years. Mary Tarika, Jeff Shire, Josh Weintraub, Sina Wiener, Norma Winston Foundation, and Matt Suzette. So let's give them all a hand. There's also another category that we thought we just want to get across. It's not, there's something, a high degree of giving. And you're not getting recognized for your giving, you're just doing it because you know it's a good thing. There's a name for it. It's the highest form of what's called tzedakah. And so when you get a volunteer that gives of themselves unselfishly, they should get recognition. So we selected two people to recognize as the best kind of volunteer that collaborates for a cure. And we're recognizing Erica Kleinberg. And Erica is an enormous amount quality time because she's come from a world of public relations, particularly in the fashion industry, and she's really helping us grow in that dimension in the fashion world. And so, from a fundraising point of view, she is probably an extraordinary ambassador of the foundation, so we recognize Erica. Sammy Santiago, I don't think is here.
He's here.
Sammy, where are you? Sammy is our approach, or our Michael's right-hand person when it comes to the gala event. And we know that if Sammy's on the phone making everything happen, she's going to bring in 500 people to that gala, and she's been doing it for about 15 years, I guess? 13, okay. Keep going, Sammy, we really appreciate it. And you are a particularly great collaborator for a cure. Thank you. So to end this, we're just going to get a few statements from people who have made impact on the foundation. And I've asked 3 people to speak. Susie would be the first, because she was there at the beginning. And Susan Rose, come on up. I just hope I just wanted her to know how she may have felt at the time this got started.
Thank you so much, Sam, for asking me to speak. Well, this gathering is really about accomplishments, recognition, and memories. So for the next minute or two, I'd like to go back to the memories. When I first arrived in Sam's office and said, "How can I help?" There was virtually nothing but the laboratory, a small laboratory, but there was a big vision. It was Sam's vision. And a few of us, I would say, the Mountners who are here, the Alberts, the Saffers, Muriel Karasik, Alfred Seaman, the Levines, and David Workman. We shared that vision. We sent out letters, we licked envelopes, and of course we solicited all of our friends. And slowly we began to put together the basis of this organization, the Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation. None of us back then, including Sam, I believe, could have imagined the worldwide success we are celebrating right now. So speaking on behalf of all of the pioneers, I want to express our pride in what has come to pass. Thank you.
So Robert Cantor's going to come up. Now Robert is kind of spanning 2 generations. His mother Mary was right there at the beginning and started a connection with the Shanghai Institute of Hematology. And Robert continues on with her. He has been the president of the foundation at one time, and he has a deep passion for what this work is all about. Robert.
Thank you. Good evening, and congratulations to Sam, 40 years. It's amazing. The dedication and the accomplishments, they speak for themselves. I'd like to first say I'm proud to carry on the Cantor family tradition of collaborating with the Samuel Waxman Cancer Research Foundation on its mission to eradicate cancer through support for cutting-edge research. The Cantor family is grateful to the foundation for being recognized as a visionary award honoree, and are thankful to Dr. Waxman and the foundation for the contributions they've made to science and have developed new cancer treatments that move the scientific community closer to cures. My parents, Sidney and Mary Cantor, took action in the late 70s and early 80s after my father had lost a close business partner to a very rare form of cancer at the time. They rallied all their friends and employees globally to help raise funds for Dr. Waxman's lab at Mount Sinai and the foundation's first ever gala event. Now, 40 years later, the foundation's fundraising has grown to include many popular benefits that raise much needed funds for the world's leading cancer researchers. These funds enable Waxman grantees to continue their important work that is recognized in leading peer-reviewed cancer research journals that lead to clinical trials for potential patient treatments. The Cantor family is especially proud to see how the working relationship between the foundation and the Shanghai Institute of Hematology, facilitated by my mother, Mary Cantor, led to the breakthrough for differentiation treatment for APL in the 1990s and continues to bear fruit to this very present day. Thank you so much, Dr. Waxman, to the great staff, everyone who's involved, and all the amazing doctors and scientists who have chosen and have been chosen to be part of this amazing journey. Congratulations.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Michael to come up. Michael Nirenberg is our chairman, and he has been for a number of years. Michael and Ellen, by his side, have been instrumental in growing this foundation enormously over the years by their energy and their leadership in their business world. And very inspiring to people that work with Michael. And we love you. Come on up.
Love you too.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. First of all, from where I stand, my job is really to be a fundraiser and try to enable all of you that give up your time in your life to make life better for all of us. So I'm honored to be among you in your company, and I think all of us in this room that are not the scientists and that even are the scientists, we thank you guys and gals so very much. So thank you very much. On behalf of my fellow board members, there is no, as we all know, there's no I in team. It is a team effort. It's what we all do to give our time and money and get our friends' time and our friends' money is sometimes it feels like a thankless job, but it is something that's truly very, very important for all of us. And as Ethan pointed out before, cancer, it doesn't pick people. It picks all of us. So let's keep up the fight. I thank Dr. Waxman, who is my uncle. The foundation's in existence for 40 years. I know you for 53 years. So you know me for 53 years. Nepotism works in this case, and you're truly a very special person who all of us love very, very much. You've made life better for many, many people. You try your best, when you get that dire phone call, and I thank you so much for it, and so does everybody in this room. So again, thank you to all of you for being here. Keep up the great work. Thanks to our fellow donors and board members. You're awesome. And for those of you that haven't been to the gala in November, I would encourage you to try to make one in the next couple of years, especially this one. Thank you.
It's been a wonderful hour and 15 minutes. I think we covered just about everything. For 3 days, we've been working real hard. The foundation staff has been extraordinarily, amazingly effective in making this possible. Edgar Trinidad in the back has really been here for 3 days. I think he went home for a few hours. And I appreciate everything you've done to organize this. Bridget, if you're here somewhere or outside, and Dan up here, thank you for what you do. We have a wonderful staff. We keep it very tight. We're very careful from a business point of view so that we can try to get as much money that we out of this for cancer research. 85%, I believe, Tom Conway, something like that, our treasurer, 85% of the money we raise goes to cancer research. So that's pretty good. So let's keep it up, and remember, we can't do without you. So we're going to end this we have a reception outside, and there'll be people serving wine, champagne, or water. Take a pick, and we're going to have a brief toast. I've asked Spencer to give a brief toast when we get outside. So also, those of you who are here will receive this award. It will be available for you at a table out by the elevator, so don't forget to pick it up when you leave, because I think you'll enjoy having it on your desk or wherever you might keep it. So thank you very much for being here.